As promised in this episode of Getting Geeky with Game Relief, we'll be having the Big Bad Overlord himself on the show. If for any reason he's not available, we'll have the next best being Danny, the creator of Big Bad Overlord the game. You won't have to wait until after Kickstarter Corner, as he's threatened to burn our villages and pillage yours, and I didn't want any of that. So you, my friends, are going to have to wait until after our interview ends to find out what else besides Big Bad Overlord is on Kickstarter. This episode is powered by 9 Lives, a card game about cats, which will be on Kickstarter through Sunday, March 3rd. More to come in our Kickstarter Corner. This episode is powered by Heroes and Treasure Darkness and Light campaign. The popular Heroes and Treasure family RPG expands with new maps, enemies, and treasures. Play it with kids 4 years old and up, even teens. It's a game we'd like to get to the table when we bring back Rolling with the Leafs. It'll be on Kickstarter through Tuesday, the 12th of March. So, if you want to bring your kids your love of role-playing games, definitely check out Heroes and Treasure Darkness and Light campaign. This episode is powered by 60 Second Chef. Quick to learn, easy to play, and super fun. Plus, it'll help us get veggies in front of our kids on the tabletop, who said they had to be edible. Want to know more? Go listen to my interview with one of the designers now from episode 255, Wishlist Wednesday on Saturday, 60 Second Chef. We'll leave the link in the show notes. 60 Second Chef will be on Kickstarter through Friday the 22nd of March. This episode is powered by Kyle Cottonbrooks and his Character Casket he created. It's multiple accessories all in one kit. Affordable prices and is convenient for you. Think of a corpse for your dice and minis. It's on Kickstarter now through Monday, the 15th of April. This episode of Getting Geeky with Game Relief is proudly brought to you by Braden's World, makers of Heroes of History the card game. Sam, the game's creator, was on with us a few episodes back, episode 235, Heroes of History Take 2, to talk about his game, and after we got our copy, we are really excited to get started. It's the only game on the market where you can have Norse heroes fight American generals in a Minotaur's lair, which I can't wait to try out. The new set of Glorious Greeks and Vicious Vikings is out now. For listeners of the show, you can get a 10% rebate on the game by emailing Sam at bradensworld.com. Email link will be in the show description with a copy of your receipt, and he'll get you 10% off. And for the first 10 listeners to leave an Amazon or eBay review, he'll send you an extra 5% rebate. Visit bradensworld.com and learn more about how you can order Iron Flanks versus Dragon Boat Raiders, as well as the beginner set Midnight Riders versus Echoes of the Plains. Heroes of History. Do you have what it takes to be a hero?
Getting Geeky with Gamer Leaf, the podcast in which one man strives to level up his geekhood and helping you do the same, one battle at a time. Now, let's get geeky with Gamer Leaf.
Cringe mortals, the Overlord is here.
The Overlord has fallen.
Wait, what?
His lieutenants have stepped forth, each vying for his dark throne.
Those guys? Seriously?
Who will become the new Overlord? Will it be you? Pit your armies against your enemies in this tabletop card and dice game of domination and destruction.
I do like domination and destruction. I also like vanquishing do-gooders. They make the best noises when you step on them.
A game 30 years in the making.
I have not been working on this for 30 years.
Big Bad Overlord is a card and dice game for 4 to 6 players.
Do you have what it takes to follow in my footsteps?
Let your inner villain out. Click on the green button and back us today.
Do it, mortal.
Did that sound familiar to you guys? It didn't to me neither, but that's the story of Big Bad Overlord that's currently on Kickstarter. And today we're lucky enough to have on the Big Bad Overlord, or at least the designer and creator of this game. Is that correct, Danny? Is that how you fall in line with Big Bad Overlord?
Yep.
Awesome. Thank you so much for joining us on Getting Geeky with Gamerleaf. We really appreciate it.
Oh, it's a pleasure to be here.
Awesome. Now, before we dive into everything that makes you the Big Bad Overlord, or I guess whoever ends up playing the game, let's rewind a little bit if we could. How did you get into playing tabletop board games?
Oh, I've been playing games since I was in college, which is a very long time ago indeed, back in the 80s. My friends and I used to play, back then our options were more limited, but we played games like Titan, which I don't think you can even get anymore. A little old-fashioned Risk. And actually, we played Overlord back then. The game is the earliest version of this game I created back in 1987, and this was one of several games that was a staple that we used to play, hanging out in the dorm. Kept us busy.
Yeah, awesome. The video talked about you making it for 30 years or whatnot.
Well, not continuously. I created it in college, and we had a lot of fun with it. And then, but it didn't exactly seem like a career path at the time. So, but in the last couple of years, I realized that a lot had changed. That there was now printing on demand. You could, upload designs through a website to any of a number of manufacturers and have a professionally printed deck of cards on your doorstep within a couple of weeks. Remember when I was first creating this, the first version of the cards were literally photocopied and glued onto cardstock. There was no web. There were none of these services available. So I realized that, I had a good game. I still had a copy. I still had a copy of the rules. I picked it up and got a new group of playtesters together, and we took it from there.
Well, there you go. Awesome. Now, going back to, you said you played Risk back in the day as well. Are you still playing that these days?
Not as much. We have less time to play than we used to, but we still do some Risk. But there's so many other choices now. Our gaming shelf is a lot fuller than it used to be.
Yeah, for sure. I hear you. So, what are you playing these days?
We played a little Settlers of Catan. It depends on the group that I'm with. Recently I've been playing Unearthed a lot. I enjoy playing that. And of course we test Overlord, and we test other games that we're working on too. And the occasional round of poker, just to keep things interesting.
There you go. Awesome. So, yeah. Speaking of Big Bad Overlord, what can you tell us about that?
Well, it's a competitive card and dice game. The idea is that you are competing with all the other players to become the new Dark Lord, and the idea is that you're gathering your evil minions together, trying to outmaneuver everybody else. You have to fend off the occasional hero who shows up and tries to spoil your plans. But for the most part, it's about becoming the biggest and the baddest. So you're assembling armies by drawing cards, each of whom contains a different evil minion. There are 3 different mechanics that you use in battle. Minions can have mind control abilities, which allow you to capture other cards. Some of them have magic, which allows you to just zap other cards out of existence. And most of them also have melee, which is in which you're competing against, just directly rolling against your opponents. So you're building your armies, you're attacking other players, you are ganging up. That's a big part of this game is the way that you work with other players. This is why it's designed for 4 to 6 players instead of a smaller number. Things really get interesting when you form alliances of convenience. You can help other players attack. You can help other players defend. You can change your mind at any moment. It's a lot of fun.
Awesome. So, per se, me and you and 2 other friends sat down to play Big Bad Overlord. What's my turn going to look like, Danny?
You're going to start out with a hand of 6 cards. So everybody gets a little playmat, which is a citadel. So you're playing the role of one of the evil dukes. There are 6 different dukes, each of whom has his own different citadel. And so you get to hide 3 cards face down in that citadel at all times. And you can have the rest of your hand face up out front. That's your army. And you can swap cards back and forth. So you have to keep some of your cards exposed at all times, but you always have the opportunity to hide something, which is important and keeps things interesting. So during your turn, you're going to draw a card, and it's going to be one of 3 kinds of cards. Most of them are evil minions, and you can decide whether you want to put it out front in your face-up army, whether you'd like to hide it in your citadel and move one of those citadel cards out front. The second type of card that you might want to keep is called a magic artifact. There are 2 of these in the game, just 2. And they're important for a couple of reasons. The main one of which is if the game continues until the point where all the cards are drawn, you need one of those 2 artifacts to remain in the game. Otherwise, you're out. So they're extremely valuable, and if you happen to get one, it's a good idea to hide it. The third kind of card you might draw is a do-gooder. These are heroes. And if you draw one of these, unfortunately, you have to fight them off before you can continue with your turn. But assuming you've drawn a minion, then you add it to your army, and then you can decide whether to attack anybody else. It's not obliged, but it's fun. And so you decide which cards you wish to send out. Again, you can mix them between your citadel and your army, decide which cards you want to send out, and you choose another player to attack. You see if anybody else wants to join in, because that's always fun to gang up, especially if somebody's looking a little bit too powerful. And once the attack begins, then you start through rounds of combat. There's 3 phases to each round of combat: mind control, magic, and melee, in that order. And so the cards each have different abilities. Most of them have melee abilities. Some of them have mind control. Some of them have magic. And so the way it works is, so mind control and magic are success-based attacks. In other words, both sides get to use this at the same time. And what you're trying to do is to roll a 12 with 2 6-sided dice. Basically, each card has numbers in each category. So if you have a card with mind control, it might have 1, 2, or a half bonus point. Add up all your mind control bonus points, add it to your die roll. If it's 12 or higher, then the attack succeeds, and you capture the card with the weakest mind control resistance on the other side. Magic works the same way, except that you add up all of your magic points instead of your mind control points. And if it works, then you destroy the card with the weakest magic resistance. So each card has not only different attack abilities, they all have different resistances in each of these 3 categories. So you have some cards that are very strong with resistance against mind control, but weak against magic, or vice versa. And melee works a little differently. In this, you add up all of your melee points, and so does the other person. And then each of you rolls, and the highest modified roll wins the melee. And then you lose the card with the lowest melee. So what keeps it interesting is, although the bonus points sometimes can get pretty lopsided, but you can always win by rolling a natural 12. So no matter how badly outnumbered you are, you always have a shot at victory. And likewise, you can also trip up. If you ever roll a natural 2, it doesn't matter what your bonus points are, you lose. And though that's a full round, so that's a full round of combat. And after the full round, then you can decide whether to continue with the attack. You can decide whether to attack a different player, or you can pass the dice along. Or you can pass the turn along to the next player.
And I'm to get them out of the game, I attack them till all their cards are gone? How does that look?
Yeah, to get someone out of the game, so you need to destroy all of their cards. So if you destroy someone's army, that is all of the face-up cards out front, then you may choose to attack the citadel. Now, there's only 3 cards in the citadel. If you attack a citadel, then you force that defending player to show the cards that are in there. So you can see if they're hiding anything good. Doing so means that you have to fight at least 1 round. Now, the cards in the citadel, they have a defensive advantage. All of their attack abilities are doubled. So it can be a hard nut to crack to get through the citadel. But there's only 3 cards. So, if you get a lucky roll, or if you have a big enough army, if you destroy all of the defenders in the citadel, then you have to destroy the Duke. The Duke is basically like a mirror. So you can try and you can't use mind control on a Duke, but you can use magic. You can use melee, and it is generally a straight roll. No bonuses apply. Just you against the other player. Highest roll takes it. The only exception to that is if one of you has one of those magic artifacts. This is the other place where they become useful, because the artifacts do give a small bonus, one of them for melee and one of them for magic. Those are the only bonuses that will count on either side when you are battling with one of the Dukes. So, but if you destroy all the cards, you destroy the Duke, then you get a bonus draw, and you can continue with your turn.
Okay, awesome. It sounds pretty cool. So, if I'm understanding correctly, they don't necessarily, if you're a defender, you don't necessarily get a defend against the magic. But if a melee attack is going on, you get a defend roll dice to defend yourself.
You basically, now mind and magic, once you start a battle, both sides can use any attack abilities that they have. So if the defender has mind control cards on his side, he can use those during the mind control phase. If he has magic cards, he can shoot back with magic too. The difference is, for mind control and magic, the rolls are independent. So mind control will, so the attacker's mind control, it'll either succeed or fail depending on if he manages to roll that modified 12. Likewise for the magic. And the same thing is true with the defender. So you can actually each capture a card in the same round. Both people can capture a card with mind control. Both people can destroy a card with magic. But the success or failure is independent. The melee is different because, only one side is going to win that fight, as opposed to the other two.
Okay, and then you have a winner once everybody's out. Everybody else is out of the game.
Yes. So if you manage to destroy everybody before the cards are gone, and you're the last player, then you're the winner. So this is a game with player elimination. You can be knocked out sometimes pretty early. If the cards are running low, now remember, if the cards are all drawn, you need an artifact to survive. So if the cards are getting low and you don't have an artifact, that is usually when people get a lot more aggressive. They go shopping around to see who has an artifact that they can take. Because when the last card is drawn, if you don't have one, you just fall into the lava. End of story. And if one player happens to have both artifacts, then he wins right there. If you have two players who each have an artifact, after the cards are all drawn, then they enter a special round. We call it the Cataclysm. This is where everyone leaves the citadels. You just have two large armies on the field, and they just battle it out until only one is left.
Okay, awesome. And you talked about sometimes we can gang up on the same person. Is that all in the same battle, or is that just...
Yeah. No, when you start an attack, you can invite others to join you. You can accept... So you can have up to 6 cards in your army face up. And so you can accept up to 3 cards from any other players on the table to join in your attack. The only rule is that they have to add those cards at the beginning of the battle. So you can say, hey, you want to throw in a monster, and or they can just volunteer. Even if no one's asking for their help, you can, add a powerful card to help somebody attack. It's a good way of balancing the scales, especially when somebody is displaying a hand that seems a little too powerful to be left alone.
And can they go ahead and jump in on either side, the defender or attacker? You
can. So the rules are slightly different. So to help an attacker, you must join at the beginning of the battle, and you can send up to 3 cards total between all the contributors. The defender, you may help someone defend. You may do that at the beginning of any round of the battle. So that's a little different. You can jump in later then if you see that things are going badly. But you may only send 1 card, and it must be a player that you're adjacent to. So your defense options are a little more limited, but you can jump in later in the battle, but you can't send as much help.
Interesting. And so when we send the help, we're pretty much just letting the defender and attacker use our cards. We're not participating. They're just using our powers.
You are. You're not participating. You may withdraw either if you're helping either the attacker or the defender. You may withdraw at the end of any complete round. So that means usually when people send help, they are sending more powerful cards because it is the cards with the weakest resistance against the mind control, magic, or melee that tend to be destroyed first. So usually people will send a very powerful card because they know it's not going to be the first one to go. And they will withdraw it if things start looking bad or if it looks like they might actually be at risk of losing that card. So they have the option of pulling out.
It sounds like a pretty fun game. How long does it take to teach and then play, depending?
It is not take long. It's pretty intuitive. Generally, games take about an hour. It depends how many people you have and how backstabby you are. I've seen games. We've played many games of this. We played it at Origins last summer. I ran demos almost all day for 3 or 4 days. It was a lot of fun. We've been at UConn and and a lot of gaming stores nearby. It takes about an hour. If players are being cautious, then it'll take a little longer. Likewise, games with 4 players can sometimes take a little longer because the balance of power is a little bit more delicate. With 6 players, actually, I find the game goes quicker because there's a lot more shifting alliances. People get much more aggressive, and they tend to take more risks.
Okay, awesome. Now, when it comes to Big Bad Overlord, what would you say you're most proud of, Danny?
I'm just happy that we're able to produce a game that so many people enjoy. This really was a pile of photocopied cards. I've learned a lot about game design and development over the last several years, and I'm just happy that people are responding to it so well, and have been looking forward to its release.
Yeah, going along with that, you seem to not give up because this has been on Kickstarter 3 times. I think I've seen it each time. What have you done different this time as opposed to the last 2, in case other people are in the same predicament?
Yeah, well, the first time, I don't know if that should count because I started that Kickstarter about 2 months after I had the idea to launch the game. There was a lot of naivete there. I was nowhere near ready. So what's changed? What's changed between this and the last time? We've actually done a slight modification on the cards. We added color coding to the mechanics so that it's a little easier to tally up your bonus points at a glance. I've had the time to go through and sharpen up the art a little bit. I mean, this is obviously the art is kind of cartoony to start with, but really had the chance to polish it more. We have in the last Kickstarter we had prototype components. I've now had the chance to produce full prototypes of the game that are basically ready to come off the shelf. It is a much more polished game now, and I've also had the chance to connect with the community, the gaming community, a lot more over the last couple of years. It's been a great experience.
Of all of that, what would you say the most helpful has been?
Feedback from the fantastic group of playtesters that I have. I'm very lucky to have friends here who are both avid gamers, and some of whom also have backgrounds in math and statistics. They're happy to crunch hypothetical numbers sort of on the fly, help me understand exactly how to balance the combat system better. The original combat system was very similar to the one that we have now, but I sort of built it intuitively, so it was pretty well balanced, but we had room for refinement to take a look at exactly what the chances are of success, what the chances are of different kinds of hands. So I mean, there is a bit of a science to making sure that a game plays well and is that it is balanced, that the combat system is fair, even though it's still a very luck-driven game compared to some. That's been really wonderful.
And it looks like you slightly lowered the funding goal. Is that right?
Yes. So my ambitions have so last year I was hoping to I'm still hoping to start this as an ongoing concern. We have other games in the pipeline. Basically I'm simply aiming to produce fewer copies this time. It will the current funding will allow me to produce enough copies to meet fulfillment and still have enough to distribute at conventions, local game stores. Not going to have the quite the stock that I would have had with the higher goal, but my priority now is to get it on the shelves, and so even if that means starting with sort of a smaller supply.
Okay, awesome. And it seems like it's doing relatively well. How long have you been on Kickstarter thus far, this go around?
4 days so far. Last time I checked, we were over 30% of our way towards our goals, so we're pretty happy with our progress. We've had a steady stream of new backers, and we just keep our fingers crossed that things keep going the way they're going.
Yeah, so definitely that sounds pretty good. The 30% within the 4 days or whatnot. So that's awesome. Now, when it comes to Big Bad Overlord, what makes your game pop as one my audience should go check out and then back if they like what they see, Danny?
Well, there's a lot of depth to it. This is a game where you really do get a chance to just play the over the top villain. People I found when they're playing the game, they really get into the characters, and there really isn't, the characters, their names and sort of slightly scary images, but people really have a good time sort of letting their inner villain out. Is the catchphrase we're using. It's just a lot of fun. The game does not take itself seriously at all. We have, there are minions like Octobats and, electric newts. And there are also some throwaway cards in there. Like, every good Dark Lord has a lick spittle, just a useless toady standing around to tell him that he's great. Those cards are in there too. And it's fun to sort of, stomp on the heroes also. The heroes are sort of very shallow and superficial. There's the self-righteous angry mob. There's even a group of small children that who are actually very dangerous. They've got a very powerful mind control ability, and it is extremely embarrassing to be defeated by the small children. See, when a do-gooder attacks you, they don't go away until they're defeated. So sometimes, especially later in the game, people can beat them off fairly easily, but do-gooders, some of them are very strong, and if you draw one early in the game, or if you are unlucky with your rolls, I've seen players who have been completely eliminated by drawing a do-gooder card. The do-gooder plows through the entire army, takes out the Duke, and then we'll move on to a different player. They do not go away until they're defeated. So, it's fun to be on the other side of that.
Well, you've convinced me. At first, I had just backed it at the dollar level because I wanted my village burn to last, as it states in the in the pledge levels, I guess. What is it called? I forget what it's called. Yeah, burn your village last because I didn't want to be burned first. So I thought that was a good idea. But yeah, just talking about the game and the depth that it sounds like it has, it sounds like an awesome game. And coming up with your pledge levels, especially that $1 one, as well as the Kickstarter video, which of both I love. How did you go about doing that?
Oh, it's just it's a lot of fun. Like I said, when you're playing this game, when you were developing this game, it's just really fun to get into the mindset of an over-the-top villain. I've actually had a lot of fun on Twitter. My Twitter account is sort of run by the Big Bad Overlord, who interacts with people as a Big Bad Overlord would. It's just like a fun bit of role-playing. And, you just have the chance to get into the headspace. The whole game is one of, we've got years now of people playing one of the 6 Dukes or playing the Overlord, sort of snarling at each other. It's kind of easy now for me to get into that headspace. And it's just fun.
Yeah, well, it sounds pretty cool. And like I said, you've convinced me. So if anybody's listening right now and you like what you've heard, or either way, go ahead and definitely, at the very least, I would go ahead and recommend you watch the Kickstarter video. totally loved it. And then just check out the page. It looks like an awesome thing, an awesome game, and there's a lot of depth in there. We'll leave all the links in the show notes so people can have a place to go ahead and follow along and see if they want to become the big bad overlord of their game group as well. So they can maybe, I don't know what it is in Twitter or whatnot, but how would they go about being able to interact and see what the big bad overlord is up to over there?
Well, my Twitter handle is Big Bad Overlord. Somehow no one had taken that, so I was happy to grab it. We have a Facebook page also with the same handle. It's just Big Bad Overlord. It's all one word. Searching for me there is not hard. We're also part of a large community of creative people. There's a lot of wonderful people there. Game designers, artists, writers. I found it to be a really supportive and engaging community.
And what community is that you're part of?
Oh, on Twitter. There's a lot of great people. There are many people in game design, as you know, I'm sure. Many people who, some of them do the art, some of them develop entire games, some of them focus on art, some of them specialize in editing rules. They're all there. They're all sharing inspiration and challenges and success stories and ideas. It's been fun to interact with everybody, and it's also been very rewarding. If you're on Twitter, I encourage you to look up Big Bad Overlord. Check out what we're up to.
Yeah, for sure. And like I said, we'll make sure, if you give me the links, we'll make sure we go ahead and leave those all in the show notes. And like I said, you convinced me to switch my pledge, and anybody who's listening, just at the very least, make sure you don't get your village burned first, I guess.
Yeah. No, that's great. Yeah, we've got a number of rewards. We also have at I think it's the $9 level. We've got pins with the Overlord silhouette. Let's say Cringe Mortals, which you can use as a fabulous fashion accessory. If you'd like to support the project and don't quite want to spring for the game, we got a number of levels, but we've also got some fun rewards at the higher level too. We have, in addition to the game, we have a set of 6 Kickstarter exclusive cards. These are Ducal Legions. Each Duke has his own Legion. That is I'm only offering during this Kickstarter. It allows you to start the game with one really good card, which is nice. It'll help. It'll definitely, I think, help give people a solid start. And at the top level, we have a book actually that we're offering. This is called the Book of Mo Darkness. So at some point over the last couple of years, people were asking me about the stories behind the different minions on the cards. And they wanted to know where the killer wolf frogs came from, what the deal is with the champion of evil, and so forth. So we came up with a guide. So this is a 46-page illustrated softcover book, which is basically a monster manual for everybody in the game, including the Dukes and the Overlord. There are stories. The stories have nothing to do with gameplay. You don't need the game. You don't need the Book of Mo Darkness to understand or enjoy Overlord, but it's definitely a bit of lore that that's a lot of people have found really fun, and we're happy to offer that as one of our top rewards.
Awesome. Yeah, so we'll definitely go ahead and, if you're listening right now, go ahead and check out Big Bad Overlord. That'll be on Kickstarter through Wednesday, the 27th of March, it looks like. And so people don't, you don't over promise and under deliver. When would people anticipate being able to become the Big Bad Overlord of their game group, Stanny?
We're saying September, because so we already have, we've got a producer. We've already, they've already made half dozen. The review copies that went out, these were not sort of prototypes in development. They are pretty close to what's actually going to be delivered. The only difference is the absence of an insert tray that'll be included in the final version. But so the files are already with the producer. We know they can produce a great copy of the game. We don't anticipate a lot of delays. I understand that production always takes longer than people anticipate. So we're giving ourselves plenty of time to make sure that that those are able to be shipped. But I'd say September for sure. I expect it would be earlier, but that's what we're saying to be safe right now.
Okay, awesome. So yeah, if you stop what you're doing right now and go check out the Big Bad Overlord. Now, I imagine, is there stretch goals once you guys hit that funding goal that we're going to be going for?
Yeah, I'll talk about those. At this point, I'd be so happy to reach our initial goal. Yeah. So, and the stretch goals. I will say that.
Yeah, most definitely.
In designing the game, I know sometimes people make stretch goals to kind of improve quality of components or things. I really wanted to make the game, as good a representation of my vision as possible. So I don't see a lot of changes in the components. We really did, the game. I did what I could to make sure that the game design and production is good to start with. I have a few ideas for stretch goals. As I said, if we get within shouting distance of our funding goal, then I'll be posting information about those.
Okay, so yeah, stay tuned for that. And yeah, definitely you don't want your village burned. Plus, you want to go ahead and check out Big Bad Overlord so you can rule your gaming group. When it comes to your gaming group, Danny, are you the Big Bad Overlord, or what's your track record in playing against people?
Terrible. I lose a lot. Well, to be fair, my friends are many of my friends are excellent gamers, and I don't have an awesome track record. Let's say, well, it's not terrible. I win once in a while, but I would definitely not say that I'm dominating the record here.
Oh boy, I feel that's how it is in my house. Usually my wife and my kids end up beating me at games, even video games. My 5-year-old daughter, she'll cream me at Super Smash Brothers.
Oh yeah, I get creamed by that also by my son. But yeah, I tend to lose. I find that younger people are very good at picking this up and beating me with the game. But being a good loser is definitely an asset because it will happen to 5 out of 6 people each time. So,
well, there you go, most definitely. But yeah, anybody listening, make sure you go ahead and check out Big Bad Overlord. That'll be on Kickstarter through the end of March. And yeah, once again, we don't want to keep you all day, Danny, but we really appreciate you coming on Getting Geeky with Game Relief with us to talk all about Big Bad Overlord, and let's go ahead and see this funded so he can burn less villages and make it to everyone's living room.
Well, thank you very much, Lake. Thank you for having me.
No problem.
What is this place? What is it doing here in the Leaves computer? Oh, it's Kickstarter Corner with the Leaves.
We teased about this at the first of the episode and noticed you haven't been over to check out their campaign yet. So go check out 9 Lives, a card game about cats. It's a card game for cat lovers, cat haters, and cat neutral people. Even dog people will love it as well. Even backed by Game Relief, if you can believe that. I sat down with Ice, one of the designers, to talk all about it. You can find that interview in their update entitled, We Are Nearly 100%. But not to fret, they've since reached their funding goal. Check out 9 Lives and some awesome and interesting stretch goals before Sunday, the 3rd of March. You've heard of Deadlands role-playing game? You wanted to give it a try but haven't been able to? You love Noir-themed stuff? Well, you're not going to want to miss this then. Big Easy, a Deadlands Noir card game. It's a standalone crime-solving card game for 2 to 4 players set in the world of Deadlands Noir. In case you missed Thursday's show, then go back and give it a listen. We'll leave the links in the show notes like usual. Then, back it on Kickstarter before Thursday, the 7th of March. If you're like Lady Leaf and myself, you're always game for a good asymmetrical battle. Well, then we have got a suggestion for you. Check out Duels of Cartisora. 2 players, 6 warriors. It's like War the card game, but better. Plus, there's awesome art. Pick your poison and back Duels of Cartisora 2-player 6 warriors before Sunday the 10th of March. In case y'all missed my interview from earlier last month, you might want to go back and listen to episode 246 about Alliance the card game. Why? Well, that's a great question. Alliance the card game, where you battle in the fantasy world of Alliance, will only be on Kickstarter for one more week. It's simple to learn and play, a battle between armies to defeat your opponent's leaders. I want to say we're the only podcast in which it's been chatted about on. I could be wrong, but I do know we're the only podcast that shows up on their Kickstarter campaign page. Go give it a listen. Check out their Kickstarter and then back it all before Saturday, the 9th of March. Next Saturday to be exact. Well, Danny convinced me. I'm excited to be able to play Big Bad Overlord as well as some of these other games that are on Kickstarter currently. If your ears perked up on any of them, do us a favor and head on over and check them out and then back them. This is a great way to keep the hobby going. Not sure if we'll be back on Monday or Tuesday. Well, I know we'll be back on Tuesday, just not sure if we'll have on an episode before that. So that you'll never miss an episode of Getting Geeky with Game Relief, make sure to subscribe in your favorite podcast catcher, so our logo will pop up every time a new episode comes out. It's our least favorite time, and yours as well. Time for us to get on with our lives and you to get on with yours. In the meantime, I hope you'll get geeky, stay geeky, and bring others into Geekfold. One way you can do that is if you like this episode or any of our shows, go ahead and share Getting Geeky with Game Relief with somebody. It helps spread the word and we can bring even more into the Geekfold. But anyways, this is Game Relief and I'm out of here.
Gamer Leaf levels up. Tune in next week to see if Gamer Leaf's luck holds up.